Hi, I'm Igor Mateski. This is my story of how I started WebMaxFormance from a broken laptop and a $13 PDF.
I know from talking to you that WebMaxFormance takes a long-term view on the journey for a client's customer or prospect. Talk to me a little bit about the customer journey that you emphasize. I know you've talked about it to me. And then also I know about Igor, the man that you grew up on a apple orchard. And we've talked about how that taught you a little bit about a long-term viewpoint and developing the apple orchard. So let's start with digital marketing in the long-term view, not just a short-term.
Yeah, with digital marketing, first let me say that it's sometimes unfortunate that a lot of decision makers are end result focused, and there's little to no interest of the process of how you get to that end result. Especially with marketing, it's usually going to be, we get a phone call or an email and saying, we want leads. And we only are interested in leads, and we are interested in organic leads and pay-per-click leads right now. And the thing is that, leads would be the product of marketing activities, but you need a process so that you would get to that end result. And how you get to that end result with marketing is by creating systems. And each system is going to be focused on a very specific role in that big overall lead generation mechanism. So you would need a system that's going to attract visitors that are searching for information pertaining your product or your service. You will need a system that's attracting people that are already aware of your product and services, and they just want to compare how you stack up against the competition, your direct immediate competition. And then you would need a system that's going to be drawing people that are ready to buy. And so you have at least, I've mentioned 3 of information seeker and product comparison and then pre-purchase searches. But the customer journey is going to be much wider, much more finely grained than just these 3 very concrete user intents. And creating leads is going to be, you've mentioned the apple field. You don't wake up one morning and say, I have 100 tons of apples to pick today. Because in reality, outside of cartoons and dreams, it doesn't happen. You need a certain amount of steps before the picking, and the apple field personal experience and analogy is that apple production doesn't just happen, just as lead production doesn't just happen. With the apples, and my father takes a great pride in this, is that he manages to get a lot of apples from a relatively small portion of land, and he's doing that because he's methodical in it, and he's almost scientific about it. You look at our field, his manual labor. And you can see that the apple trees are, formed. They have a shape, unlike others in the vicinity that are just bushes. So there's a lot of energy to put into the apple so that the apple trees would grow. But then also there's a lot of pruning going on, because you get to a position where saying, if I leave this branch, it's going to impede the growth of 3 other branches, or it's competing with the 3 other branches that look better, so you're going to cut it off. And the point of growing and cutting and growing and cutting is so that you would shape that tree to be an optimal apple producing machine. With websites and lead gen, it's the same. When we map out the customer journey from a tire kicker to a brand evangelist, your brand evangelist, there is a process and there are specific steps, and in these usually 5 to 7 stages of the conversion journey, we make sure that each of these stages has enough blog posts that are speaking to that same audience, but they're speaking to that emotional stage of the person who is still hesitant about, do they even need your product? And when we create the text, we make sure that it's informative enough, it's focused enough on the keyword that you want that text to rank. It has the right sentiment, it has the right emotions, so that it will push the right emotional responses in the readership. But until we push data and push traffic on it, we don't really know how the users are going to interact with those texts. Now, over the years, we're still learning. we have gotten a lot better, but there are still situations where we're going to see, let's say, in a stage of research for whatever service, we would have maybe 5 texts that are more or less, talking about the same problems, but we will find that one text is actually producing a lot better than the rest. And we could find out that those 4 texts, if we somehow combine them and add them to that one top producer, that we could take that top producer and turn them into a super producer, by pruning and adding and pruning and adding, so that eventually you get a segment of that lead gen system that produces optimally. And without that trial and error, and without looking at the data, you can't really scale as fast and as effective. And it's always focus on the end goal. Yes, it is about the leads, but there's a process behind the leads. And if you don't fine-tune the processes actually, and if you're only focused on that, give me leads, give me leads, give me leads, you're focused on getting results, but you're not building up the machine to get the processes. The results. And I personally take pride in sort of perfecting the process of building lead gen systems that take time to build, but when you stretch the whole project of, let's say, 12 months, we maybe take 3 months to just figure out where your business is and how your audience responds to your message. Just to figure out how to sell your products. And if we're constantly being, not just us, but any other marketing agency, if they're constantly being pushed to produce on a monthly basis without the systems, I think it is going to end up being a very difficult relationship between the provider and the user, meaning the marketing agency and you as a client. And the end result is going to be a lot of maybe angry phone calls, maybe disrespectful emails, and at the end of the day, you as a client would end up with less leads, and the marketing agency, whichever it is going to end up with a lot of frustration because there is a disconnect between expectation and reality.